Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So just before we get into today's video, I just wanted to let you know I'm doing this voiceover. I was talking whilst I was creating this video, but I was having a few audio issues, the same as like I did in my last video. So what I'm going to be, my hands and things and maybe what I'm doing in it isn't going to match entirely with kind of what I'm saying because I'm doing this voiceover separately after I've edited it. So hopefully that's not going to be too distracting for you. But today's video we're going to be creating our first 5 cards using our Summer Shores paper kit. This is by the Paper Tray. I showed you these 3 items in a recent haul video. I picked these up from the craftclearance.co.uk website and all 3 of these cost me £6.50, in total. So we've got our essential cards collection, our decorative papers, and the die cut collection. There is one more piece for this kit, which is the insert papers. Those I didn't pick up, but I'm happy with what we've got here. So what I've done is I've already basically designed all of my cards. I know what I'm going to be putting together, so I've picked out all of my elements. I've cut down all of my cardstock just to kind of save a little bit of time, so everything is kind of ready. I've got foam tape on everything, so we're just going to be putting everything together in today's video. Again, so these are the first 5 cards using this kit. I'm using a lot of the dies that I picked up from my last haul video that I showed you from the Creative Craft products. So I'm going to show you a few different sort of size cards and different shaped cards as well, so just to show you that this really is going to work for everybody. And if you want a little bit of easy crafting, which I found for me this is what this is, because you've got the paper kit. I'm only using these products. I am going to bring in like one other die set other than my nesting dies to create my mats and layers and my cards, but other than that I'm using basically everything that's here in this kit. So I really love how these cards came out. I'm really excited to share some more, and what I'm going to be doing is all of these cards I'm going to be selling on my Etsy page. There is a link to my Etsy shop in the description box down below where I'm selling my paper ink stamp sets, but I'm going to be selling these as well. So I'm going to sell them in packs of 5. They're going to come with the envelopes, and in this video right at the end, stick to our end card, I'm going to create a DL size card, and it's my absolute favourite card out of all of these, and I'm going to be creating the envelope as well. So I'm going to be using that Creative Craft product DL envelope maker. I'm going to show you how to put it together. I'm going to show you the papers are going to match perfectly with our card, and I just absolutely love it. So these are going to be sold with that one decorative envelope and then just plain envelopes as well. But let's get into creating our first card. So you can see, as I said, I've got everything prepared here. Everything's got the foam tape on it, and literally all I need to do is just stick it together. I really enjoyed how easy it was to put these cards together. Like I said, you've got the papers there and everything, just works so beautifully together. You absolutely don't need anything else. So for my first card, I'm starting off with a 6x6 inch square card. Then I have got 2 pieces of cardstock, so I've cut these down by 1/4 of an inch. So I've got this blue cardstock. Both of these have come from the Essential Card collection. So the blue one is 5 3/4 inch squared. Then my spotted one is 5.5 inch squared. Then I've got a couple of toppers as well. So I have got this bigger square topper, which has got the flower on it. That didn't go with these toppers together, but I picked a slightly bigger one from the kit. So I've got that one. I've got this really lovely striped frame here, which you could very easily turn into a shaker card. I've then got these decorative corners as well, again from that die cut collection, which is going to go to the outside. And then we do have our sentiment as well. So let's pop this card together. So these are going to be, this is all in real time. So this is going to show you how quickly these can be put together. So it's going to take you a little bit of time to kind of get into the swing of putting these kits together and what you want to use. So, it took me probably about an hour to put together all of these pieces, but then, a little bit of time to die cut and, get everything ready, get all the tape on everything. But, if you wanted to give this to somebody as a kit to make these cards, you could absolutely do that as well. Just put them in little bags and you've got everything ready to go. These kind of kits work perfectly for that. So you can see that I've popped on just flat all of my decorative papers, and then you can see how these frames are going to sit. By then putting that foam pad behind it, it's going to lift it off of that backing paper, off that spotted paper, and it's just going to add some dimension. So I'm just sort of showing you how this is roughly going to go together. So again, like I said, you could very easily turn this centerpiece into a shaker element, because because it's just a frame, you could put a piece of acetate on there, and then you could just pop some sequins in there, and you know, that background, that would be really beautiful. I didn't do this in this instance, mainly because I don't have any sequin packs that kind of, well, match this, but I don't really have a lot of sequins either, to be honest. It's something that I'm looking at. I would quite like to put some kits together to pop onto my Etsy shop if I could, so that might be kind of a next product that I'm looking at bringing out, but this would work perfectly as a shaker element. So I'm just taking the backing off my foam squares for those corner pieces, and you can see just how that lifts off, all the colours matching together, so it just makes everything so easy. So then I'm going to pop this piece in just flat, so I'm going to pop some Nuvo glue onto the back of this. I'm going to pop this in the middle, and I've kind of worked out the orientation of how I want these flowers to sit, because I am going to add my sentiment on here as well. And then I'm just going to take this thin foam. This is more of a shaker foam, but this is a thin foam. I'm going to take the release paper off the back, and then I can pop this frame down straight on top. For the sentiments for these cards, I've tried to go for different sentiments. So all of these packs, I'm going to make up sort of packs of 5 if I can. All of these packs are going to have kind of different style cards. They're not all going to be happy birthday, because you've got some really great sentiments in here. You have birthday ones, thinking of you, you know, like special friends, with love, things like that. So I'm trying to change it up just a little bit, and, you know, have kind of a little bit of a variety in here. So the sentiment on here, you've got a friend in me, absolutely beautiful. That pink matches in lovely. I am going to mess around with this sentiment for a minute or two, only because I wanted to get that foam tape in the right place. I didn't really think about that when I put the foam tape on it originally, because that square is obviously up higher on a higher piece of foam, and I've added just a little bit of glue on there as well, just to kind of stick that to the frame. And there is then our first card all finished. Absolutely love, I just love all of these. I love the colours. It's perfect for, you know, kind of going into that summertime. People are going on holiday, any summer birthdays and things. I absolutely love it. So what I am going to do just to help decorate these is I'm going to add a few Nuvo drops. So I'm only bringing in 2 of these. These are the Nuvo crystal drops I've got here. So I'm either going to be using pink champagne or the other one is aquatic mist. So on this one I'm using the pink, but I do kind of alternate, you know, depending on what is the kind of primary colour really. Is it pink or is it kind of that teal kind of colour? But I went with the glitters as well, just to add a little something to it. So there is our first card finished. So it really didn't take very long to put together, but I just think they're so beautiful. It's really, really effective. So on to our next card. This is going to be an oval scalloped edge card. So I've used my new nesting dies to create the actual card base itself. So I've created this in the same way that I create sort of my circle cards. I've die cut 2 of the same size shape. I've scored 1 inch from the top, and that's going to create my fold, and I've just glued that to the other one. And then with this particular shaped card, it did have an issue where of course it was heavier at the top, so it was kind of rocking side to side. It wasn't sitting where I wanted it to. So I just cut a small sort of slice off the bottom of this, and it helps to stand up in the exact position that I want it to, and to stop it kind of rocking. But what I would do is make sure that you're getting that in kind of the perfect position, so then your fold is directly sort of at the top. So again, another simple card just made up with layers. So we've got this sort of almost fish scale pattern to begin with. This comes from the Essential Card collection, and I just die cut these with the smaller sizes of these scalloped ovals, and I really love you know, being able to kind of see those gaps in between. That's the only issue I have with using patterned paper in this way, because you never see a lot of it. However, the gaps in between them are quite big, so I like it in the sense of using patterned paper because you can see it, but just normally yeah, it's quite a sort of a thick border on these. Then I've cut a piece of this lovely sort of floral seahorse patterned paper. This comes from the decorative papers. I've die cut this again with a smaller nesting die, and I've popped some foam tape onto the back of this. And what I'm trying to do is just get this lined up so all of the scallops are sort of sat in that same position. And then for my topper, so I've taken this from the die cut collection. I think this started off as a square, but it just had, it was just white in that background. So don't be afraid to cut into these and make them kind of be the size that you want to be. You can do some decoupage on this because you do have 2 of these in your collection. So you can just cut elements from it if you wanted to. So I've fussy cut around it, left a nice little white border. It is quite, because the background is quite busy, by putting it on a foam pad, which is what I've done, it helps kind of lift it from that background nicely. And it just creates another sort of focal point. And then of course we've got our sentiment. I've nestled that in there in between the 2 leaves, and I really love how this has come out. Again, very simple. You've got that lovely decorative paper in there, and I'm not usually a fan of like scalloped edged cards. So when you get like this pre-made square ones, I don't necessarily like those, but something like this, I just think it's a little bit different. Maybe it's because with the card versions, the square version, sorry, you've still got that straight edge on it. Maybe that's the difference, but I do really love actually how this has turned out. And then I finished this with some of those aquatic mist glitter drops as well. And yeah, I just think this came out so beautifully. I absolutely love all of these papers together. For our third card here, we're creating a hexagon. So again, these dies came from the new dies that I picked up, the new nesting dies. This has got that stitched detailing on here as well. And again, so I've made a card base using, I haven't gone with the largest because I didn't want to go with all of the super big ones, but I have just created my card base again in that same way by putting 2 of them together. And this, of course, because you've got a straight edge on this, it just went together really easily. And then again, so we've got some more of those patterned papers. So the stripes, again, is from that Essential Card collection. And this one here is just the kind of plain, it's almost like a greeny kind of colour, or like a sandy colour. And yeah, this is going to create my first layer. The same thing I would say with a scalloped edge is the border of these, the distance between it is quite big, so it is creating some big mats and layers in here, and for me in some instances taking up a lot of space as well, maybe some valuable space if you're making a smaller card. But it's nice again to create something a little bit different, and with that stitched edge detailing as well, I think it just kind of elevates it a little bit. And then like I said, then we've got this striped paper on here as well. And again then, so just using 3 of those nesting dies, and you've got just some really simple, beautiful mat and layering on there. So I've glued those 2 flat because I really want the sentiment and the toppers and things to kind of stand out and be that main focal point. Then I've taken one of the die cut toppers. So this is a scalloped edge sort of circle here. And we've got this lovely detailing in the center with this frame. So the one thing I would say when you're taking your die cut elements is you will have the little sort of tags, little pieces of card, which is what connects it to the sort of A4 sheet of paper. For a more professional look, I would recommend just snipping these off. You get a handful of them just around the image. It just, like I said, it gives a much more polished finish, and yeah, a much more kind of professional look to your cards. So I've popped a couple of foam pads onto the back of this, again, just for some dimension. And I love even this, the topper, it's more mainly made up of pinks, and our papers are kind of that beautiful sort of minty green colour with then that sort of sandy green colour as well, but it all just works well together. Then we've got a circle sentiment, so again just adding in different shapes in here as well is going to create a card that's a little bit more interesting. And then I fussy cut out this pineapple. I'm sure this came from either one of the smaller circles or the smaller squares. Again, get rid of the rest of it, just fussy cut around it, and it makes just a really fun little element onto your card. If you just need that little something extra, these little bits and pieces are just going to give you those beautiful finishing touches. And then what I am going to do with this card is again just finish it off with some Nuvo drops. Again, just going in there with that aquatic mist, and I'm just adding roughly sort of 3 to each card. I don't want to overwhelm it at all. I want to just get that really perfect balance, and that's our next card finish. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it's a really beautiful card, and again, just showing you the different kind of elements that you can use from this kit together. Now on to our fourth card. So we are creating a 5x5 inch card here, and the main thing I wanted from this one was to then use my scalloped rectangles on here. So you'll be able to see how this fits onto a 5x5 inch card base. So pre-made card base. Then we've got a piece of plain sort of bluey, tealy, I'm not really sure what colours these are, to be honest. I'm just kind of making it up, but you know, here it looks like kind of a pale blue colour, but then it does look a little bit aqua turquoisey almost as well. So we've got that for our first layer. I've just trimmed that down with my paper trimmer, and then for the next layer of the pattern's paper, that's come from the decorative papers, and is really, really beautiful pattern on here, a little bit more pinky and sort of less green kind of foliage in there. And I've cut that then with my, like I said, the scalloped rectangles. I think this was the third size in. And so this is much smaller. So to me, I do need to have that layer in between. That's why then I've cut this blue cardstock. So this is just 1/4 inch smaller. So my card is 5x7, so that piece is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and you can see then die cutting with that third size scalloped edged rectangle. You do have a slightly thicker border on here, but it is a good kind of in between size on that, and again, it just means then you'll be able to kind of see that color behind. But I'm popping this up on some foam tape to give it a little bit of shadow behind it. It's just going to lift it, give it some dimension, and it's really going to kind of emphasize that beautiful scalloped edge shape around the edge. So then we've got our topper. So again, like I've said, you've got 2 of each of your toppers and your sentiments. So you can then cut into these and, like I've said, do some decoupage. So I've taken this scalloped edge circle, and then I took the other one, and then I've just taken the frame off it and kept the circle. And yeah, really beautiful. It's just going to lift it up from that centerpiece. And I've kept that frame as well, because it might be that I can use it on a different project. I can pop something else into the center of it. And then for this one, we've got our sentiment, happy birthday to you. And I'm just going to pop this off onto the right hand side. So you can see I've popped just some foam pads the same height as that circle piece of decoupage there, just so it sits nice and flush. A little bit of glue on there as well, just to hold down that left hand side. And again, this card is finished so easy. All it is some patterned papers, the toppers. You probably think I'm sounding like a broken record, but you know, it really is. I love these kits for easy crafting. This to me is just easy crafting. And again, then I'm going to finish this with some of those pink glitter drops. And again, that was in the pink champagne colour, just again to add a little bit of sparkle. And that is card number 4 finished. So quick and easy. So I know I've done a little prep before ahead of time, but so far we're at like 17.5 minutes on here, creating 4 cards. But you know, it's really not a long amount of time in between our creating our cards. So our final card, we are creating a DL size card here, and this is where I added one extra sort of element into this, but I've also created then a matching envelope using some of those decorative papers, and then I can show you kind of how that die cuts and how you kind of put that together. But so for this card, it's quite simple. And the thing I wanted to keep quite simple about it was because of this patterned paper, you got that shoreline and you got that floral, and I thought it was so beautiful, and I really didn't want to cut into it. So what I decided to do is add it to a DL sized card so I could keep the majority of that. And then I just took my alphabet, so it's just a regular alphabet die, and I've die cut from the different essential card papers. I've die cut then the phrase summer fun, because I thought that would just go perfectly with it. I also die cut the same from the adhesive foam sheets from Creative Craft Products as well, and I've layered them up just to give that some dimension. I've also then again fussy cut out a pair of those flip-flops just to add a little bit of element onto this. So for this panel here, it's literally just going to be this one layer. I used my DL stitched edge nesting dies, and what I absolutely am so happy about is the biggest die in this set fitted this card base perfectly. So unlike the others where then I've got dies which are much bigger than the kind of card sizes that I'm creating, this one literally was the biggest die in the pack, fitted this panel perfectly. And the detail with that stitch detailing on it, it worked so well with this paper. I just love it. This is my absolute favourite. So I'm just going to add that flat with some glue because I have all of that dimension in our summer fun letters. So I'm just going to kind of arrange it on here. So I didn't want to cover up too much of that left hand side with that kind of water is coming in a little further. I thought it would look nicer on this side. So I'm just going to kind of layer it. So we're going to have the fun underneath. We're going to have the flip flop then there as well. And sort of just coming in behind the word summer there. So I've got my placement sorted. So the first thing I'm going to do is get those flip-flops down, because I'm going to add those straight onto the card with some glue. I want that to kind of sit underneath, and then for my letters to sit on top. So when I die cut it, first of all, like I said, from that patterned paper, and I used basically all the papers that I'd already kind of cut into, just using up some of those scraps. And then, like I said, I die cut it again from those adhesive foam sheets. So I took the release paper from the top and then just added on that decorative paper. Very easy to do. In my previous video, when I used this, it was on something very, very delicate. It was a little harder to do, to be fair, with this, because it was so big. It was really simple to get on there. And then there's just a release paper onto the back of this foam as well, and it just sticks down really, really easily. So if you haven't seen these products, you can use things like funky foam. I've done that previously, and I've shown you that on my channel here for just various different projects. But I actually really like this because you have that adhesive already on there. If you are doing something slightly fiddlier, something thinner, I would probably add the cardstock and then die cut both of them together. Just for ease, really. But yeah, for something like this, you've got something chunky on there. Yeah, it just works so well. And because you've got white and black, so I'm using the white here. They do a black version as well, and it's just going to be easy, you know, for different pieces of die cutting. So I'm just kind of rearranging. I could have used a ruler or like a T-square ruler to help get this on straight, but it was quite easy because I hadn't pressed down too hard. It was quite easy to pull those letters back up again just to make sure that it was nice and straight. But doesn't that look amazing? I absolutely love this. Again, this is 100% my favorite card so far. I love that paper, and yeah, just adding something a little bit different. And with a DL size, something like this, you could turn this maybe into some tickets, like a ticket holder. If you're surprising someone this year with a holiday, you could pop some tickets in there. You could turn this into kind of a journal if you wanted to, which I am thinking about doing, seeing how many papers we've got left to see if we can make one of those kind of card journals. But yeah, this is going to be so great, not just for a card, but using it, you know, for different projects as well. So onto the envelope. So this was the Creative Craft products. This is the DL size envelope die. So here I'm literally just using the 2 dies to create the envelope itself. So we have the back of it here, and you've got the 3 tabs. It scores those score lines into it. So you just need to fold and burnish that. That's where you're going to add your tape. And then for the front, you simply have this front panel and you have your flap as well. So I said in my last haul video, what I love about this and having a die for it rather than using like the 1, 2, 3 punch board is when you've got a decorative paper like this, I was able to line this up so easily with my piece of patterned paper to make sure I could get that design exactly how I wanted it to be. I did also mention that this will take you 2 pieces of A4 cardstock just due to the size. So what I did was I die cut the front from the patterned paper because I didn't then want to use up the other sheet of it, to be honest. I wanted to save that for another project. I then just took a piece of that plain card from the Essential Card Collection in this limey, greeny, sandy kind of colour that went really well with it, kind of that sand colour. It went really well. So you could just have patterned paper on the front if that's what you wanted to do. You could do patterned paper on both sides. You could create your own papers and then create your envelopes. You've got a lot of options here, and you can really tailor this to how you want it to look because you've got the die. It means then that you can have this in the exact placement that you want to. So here I'm using some red liner tape. If you are going to be giving this card away, if you're going to be popping this through the post, I would use as strong of an adhesive as you can. For me, that is going to be the red liner tape. If you're confident with glues and things, then of course do that. I'm not 100% confident with it at the moment. Maybe I might become, but yeah, I just think using red liner tape would be just the strongest way to go with this. So I was taking the backing off. You can see that I just ripped the whole thing off there, but just taking the backing of these off, and then you could do this one at a time if you wanted to, or pull kind of one end off at a time. Obviously a lot of people do that just so you can get it lined up properly, but what I found was, because I put the adhesive obviously right to the edge, if you fold the bottom piece up first and then you kind of fold over that side, you can get them to stick together just a little bit, and that does kind of help. Then I just started with one corner, so I'm doing the bottom right hand corner. I'm lining up this front panel with that bottom corner to begin with, and then I'm just making sure that the rest of it is lining up, and then we're just going to press it down very hard to make sure that this is going to adhere together. So I loved how this envelope turned out. So you can see the back of it, you've got the gap there, you can add all of the decorative pieces, you can add, so you do have that insert liner, the envelope liner that you can die cut as well to pop in there just to finish it off. So I love this. It fits my DL card perfectly. So I can't show you using that card in this envelope because I put the Nuvo drops on it, and of course they're still drying. So this is a blank card of the exact same size, and you can see just how well that fits in there, and you still have a little bit of space in case you have a little bit of hangover on your cards as well. But in and out so easily. You can put some double-sided tape on the back of that, or some envelope gum if that's what you've got, and really turn this into a beautiful envelope. So here it is with that card. Like I said, I can't put it in there because the Nuvo drops aren't dry, but yeah, it just goes so well with this card. I absolutely love both of these together. So when I pop these onto my Etsy shop, it's going to have this one envelope is going to be decorative, the other envelopes are just going to be plain, but you can absolutely make envelopes to go with your card projects. So that's our 5 cards for today's video. So I'm just going to bring them back in so you can kind of see them all together. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of style of video here. So again, I've got everything kind of prepared and I can just go ahead and make the cards. I do urge you to go over to the craftclearance.co.uk website and see what fantastic deals you can pick up from there. Like I said, so I've just made these 5 cards and that's it at the moment. I've got tons of paper left over and the die cuts as well, the toppers. I've got loads of it left over and it cost me £6.50. And you think, these cards, I just think are absolutely beautiful. I love them. I love the colours. I love the florals in there. Yeah, I think anyone would be happy to receive one of these cards. So do let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up as well. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. So that's going to be it today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.